Hello, everyone. Welcome to our pre-bid conference. We're going to give it just a moment and allow participants to log in, and then we'll begin our presentation. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. My name is Melissa Figueroa. I'm the Chief of Strategic Communications for California's High-Speed Rail Project, and you're joining us today for the pre-bid conference for the request for qualifications for high-speed train sets and related services. We thank you for your time today. We'll have a number of presentations from our staff here at High-Speed Rail, and then we will provide information on how to solicit questions. If we can go to the first slide, we'll give you our run of show. Again, my name is Melissa Figueroa, Chief of Strategic Communications for the High-Speed Rail Authority. I'll be giving you a project overview during today's pre-bid. I'll be followed by our small business program overview from Katrina Blair, Chief of Process and Program Development. We'll have a procurement overview from Bruce Armistead, our Chief of Rail and Operations Delivery. And then Kate Cook, one of our attorneys here at High-Speed Rail, will provide the organizational conflicts of interest overview. All right, next slide. So the procurement process details, you'll find this on our website, and then we'll give you some information here verbally as well. You can find the information on our website. You go to hsr.ca.gov, click on Business Opportunities, and then High-Speed Train Sets and Related Services under Contract Opportunities. On that website, you'll find the videos of this pre-bid conference and the Small Business Workshop, the PowerPoint presentations, and the registrant lists. You can submit procurement questions to Trainsets with an S at hsr.ca.gov, and those questions are due by September 19th, 2023. Go to the next slide. So I'll be providing you a brief overview of our project as it stands today. We can go ahead and start with the first slide. So as many of you know, phase one of our project is 500 miles long between the cities of San Francisco and Los Angeles and Anaheim. Phase two, after phase one concludes, extends an additional 300 miles and connects Sacramento and San Diego to that existing phase one system. Our train speeds are expected to be approximately 220 miles an hour in an electrified system with up to 24 stations. Next slide, there we go. So where we are today, we have 119 miles under active construction in California's Central Valley. We have another 52 miles under advanced design north into the city of Merced and south into the city of Bakersfield. We are environmentally clearing the full 500 miles of the project between San Francisco and the LA Basin. Today, approximately 422 of those miles are environmentally cleared. We are funding partners for bookend projects such as the Caltrain electrification project in Northern California and Los Angeles Union Station improvements and the modernization of that station in Southern California, as well as several grade separations in Northern and Southern California. We are doing station design for our first 4 Central Valley stations. Those are located in Merced, Fresno, Kings Tulare, and Bakersfield. And we do have a memorandum of understanding with Brightline West. That's the project in Southern California that extends into Las Vegas. Next slide. A look ahead, we have a number of milestones coming up this year and next year. First, the completion of the first Central Valley construction segment. We refer to that as Construction Package 4 or CP4. We're anticipating the completion of that very shortly in the fall of this year. The Palmdale to Burbank Environmental Impact Report impact statement issued late this year. The Caltrain electrification is expected to be complete in 2024. Rosecrans Marquardt grade separation in Southern California also in 2024. We're funding partners for that. And the continued advanced design for the stations of the Central Valley that I referenced on the previous slide. And that contract was awarded for that work last year. Next slide. So in terms of labor numbers and small business numbers, we have 11,000 plus construction jobs created since we began construction. We actually have about 1,300 construction workers dispatched daily to those job sites. 34 active construction sites, and 70% of those workers are from disadvantaged communities. We have about 779 small businesses employed, 265 are disadvantaged business enterprises, 97 are disabled veteran business enterprises. We are leading the nation in sustainability. Our system will run on 100% renewable energy. We are currently using Tier 4 equipment, the greenest construction equipment possible on our construction sites. And when in operations, we will reduce vehicle miles traveled, or VMT, by about 400,000 cars off the road annually. Next slide. I'm now turning it over to Katrina Blair for an update on our small business program and more information there. Katrina.
Thank you, Melissa. Good morning, everyone. My name is Katrina Blair, and I'm the Chief of Process and Program Development, and I oversee the Authority's Small Business Program. I'm going to provide for you an overview of the Authority Small Business Program. The Authority currently has 30% overall small business goal, which includes a 10% goal for the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program and 3% for the Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Program, both referred to as DBE and DVBE. We have a good number of businesses, as Melissa discussed earlier, that are already performing on the contract, total of about 779 that represent regions from all over the state. As you can see on the map, we've highlighted where the businesses are located. And additionally, we have about 28 certified DBEs that are from outside of the state of California. In order to meet the goal in accordance with what is defined in the Small Business Program Plan, you will need to designate a small business officer that is responsible for being the point of contact for all things small business. And that person will work closely with my team. For example, if there's a need for you to host a workshop, or if you want to garner interest for any procurements or task orders you release under the contract with the Authority. It's very important that you follow the protocol for adding small businesses to your project and that you are using small businesses that have been approved. During the course of your contract, if you're looking to add more businesses, you can leverage my team and they will be happy to assist you in the effort to find qualified businesses to perform. Once the contract is executed, my team will hold a kickoff meeting, which will include members of the awarded team, their small business officer, and Authority staff, including the contract manager and the small business compliance team. In this meeting, we will review the small business requirements in more detail. Next slide. The Authority is committed to having diverse small businesses on this project. Although we are not a certifying agency, we actually partner with a couple of different agencies to utilize their certification designations, as you see listed on this slide. So anytime you want to bring businesses on board, they have to be certified with these departments here, and their certifications must be current and valid. You will want to make sure that throughout the course of your contract, that all small business certifications are continuously up to date. Most of these certifications listed here carry a 1 to 2 year term before they have to renew, but it's the responsibility of the business to ensure their certifications are current. The California Department of General Services offers the state certifications, which are the small business, micro business, small business for public works. And this particular certification includes firms who specifically work on public work contracts. The SBPW, as we call it, certification is a benefit for California firms that have graduated from the smaller program. So if you work with firms who have been on this project and have grown as a result and are no longer qualified for the small business certification, the SBPW goes up to $36 million in gross annual receipts, and they can still qualify as a small business. Department of General Services also offers an additional state certification, which we call the Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise, also known as DVBE. We also recognize a couple of federal certifications. So the California Unified Certification Program, or CUCP, is a Disadvantaged Business Enterprise certification offered by a consortium of agencies throughout California. So businesses are able to choose the agency in their region to go through the certification process. Caltrans is the agency in Sacramento that offers this certification statewide. If you have any firms that are trying to join your team with this certification, please let them know that it takes several months to get certified. Currently, we also accept the 8A Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program certification from the U.S. Small Business Administration. Please keep in mind that anything federal will take a little bit longer to process, but these certifications listed here are the only certifications that we currently accept. And small businesses do have to be certified at the time of award and when they're brought onto the contract, during execution and throughout the duration of the contract. Next slide. Exclusivity. The authority does not prohibit some subconsultants or subcontractors being exclusive to one offer, but we do strongly discourage this practice. Next slide. So this slide covers our Connect HSR vendor registry. We also encourage all businesses to register with Connect HSR. It's free, it's online, and it's simple to complete. Businesses who register with Connect HSR will always be notified when there are procurement opportunities or workshops or conferences on this project. Oftentimes we find that businesses are struggling with certain things such as certified payroll, audit requirements, invoicing, things of that nature. So we'll hold workshops or outreach events and have guest appearances from other state partners and organizations that offer support. So there are numerous opportunities to learn about high-speed rail and how we do business. So we encourage businesses to register with Connect HSR. Additionally, please be sure to attend the small business workshop we'll be hosting today at 1 p.m., where we'll have an overview of the small business compliance requirements. And also, we've invited Caltrans and Department of General Services to provide an overview of the certification requirements. So thank you for your time today. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and send us an email at the trainsets@hsr.ca.gov. And I will now turn it over to Bruce Armistead. Thank you.
Thank you, Katrina. I'm Bruce Armstead, Chief of Rail and Operations Delivery here at the Authority, and I'm going to give you a procurement overview for the Trainsets. The Authority has issued an RFQ to receive statements of qualifications for the qualified firms. This is a one-step RFQ. This is step one of a two-step RFQ for a best value procurement. The Authority will evaluate the SOQs to establish a short list of offers who will be eligible to participate in the second step. In the second step, the shortlisted offerers will be invited to submit detailed proposals, and the Authority anticipates selecting the proposer whose proposal offers the best value to the Authority and the state for award of supply and maintain contract for the provision of train sets and related services. Next slide, please. The high-speed train sets will be capable of operating at 220 miles an hour and will be Buy America and FRA Tier 3 compliant. 2 prototype train sets will be delivered by 2028 to support dynamic and static testing and trial running. 4 additional train sets will be delivered by the end of 2030 to support revenue operations. This contract will have multiple NTPs. The estimated budget for the delivery periods of NTPs 1 through 4 is indicated in the Authority's project update report. The Authority Small Business Program, as outlined by Katrina, is incorporated by reference into the contract. Currently, the Authority's SB established a 30% SB utilization goal, inclusive of a 10% DBE utilization goal and a 3% DDBE utilization goal. Any board-approved updates to the small business program and goals will apply to the RFP and contract. Slide, please. The procurement of 6 train sets capable of operating at 220 and tested at 242, 2 prototypes to support the dynamic testing and trial running of the first construction segment. As you can see there, the first construction segment is shown from Madeira to a place called Poplar. And these will be delivered to the authority by 2028. The 4 additional train sets to support revenue operations, the early operating segment that's shown in the purple outline from Merced to Bakersfield. We expect revenue service to begin between 2030 and 2033. Next slide, please. The contractor will provide the train sets, provide a driving simulator, support the development of criteria for the facilities, tracking systems, contracts, and stations. They'll participate in the testing and commissioning of the facilities tracking systems, develop and provide information to support the certification and subsequent commissioning of the train sets. They'll maintain the train sets for 30 years and the provision of all spares, i.e. interchangeable parts for such train sets, and operate and maintain the heavy maintenance facility, light maintenance facility, and the train set certification facility. Next slide, please. The train sets related, high-speed train sets and related contracts, the request for RFQ may be downloaded from the event page on the California State Contracts Register. The link is shown there. RFQs and updates, including answers to written questions about the RFQ, and any RFQ addenda will be posted on the CSCR event page. The authority's webpage and email address is shown below. And information from the pre-bid conference and small business workshop will be posted on the authority's webpage and will include videos, PowerPoint presentation, and a registrants list. Submit procurement questions to the email address shown there. Next slide, please. The procurement schedule for this for step 1 of this 2-step procurement is shown below. The RFQs was released on August 25th. The virtual pre-bid conference, which is today, and the small business workshop later this afternoon. The deadline for questions is September 19th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. The SOQs are due November 14th by noon Pacific time. And we expect we anticipate a short listing of offers by January 2024. And see table 1 of the RFQ for additional details. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Catherine Cook to discuss the organizational conflicts of interest. Catherine?
Thanks, Bruce. Hi, my name is Kate Cook, and I'm an attorney here at High Speed Rail, and I'll be going over the organizational conflicts of interest policy that we have and what it means for prospective bidders for this procurement. So we, the authority, have a policy that covers organizational conflicts of interest. We have this policy for a number of reasons. Our federal grants require it. It helps us ensure that we have a fair and transparent bidding process, and that we're receiving the best, most impartial services we can. And it also keeps us in compliance with federal laws and regs related to procurements. As most folks know, we receive federal funding as well as state funding for this project, so we have to comply with federal regs as well as California regs. On the slide there's a quote basically from the U.S. Supreme Court talking about the purpose of such policies, and it's not necessarily to keep crooked people straight is the summary of this quote. It's basically to prevent the temptation from in the first place from being there and existing. Okay, next slide. So within our policy, we have a definition of what an organizational conflict is. And essentially, it comes from a circumstance or a financial relationship or business relationship on our project or near kind of our project that could impair or potentially impair the contractor's ability to give us advice and work that's impartial, or create an unfair advantage for one bidder over the other because they have some sort of non-public knowledge and they got sort of an unfair competitive advantage in the procurement process itself. Or it could also be a perception or appearance of one of those things. There are two basic situations that make up an organizational conflict. The first, as I mentioned, is that unfair competitive advantage. So if you're a consultant on our project helping us with a procurement, you are obviously then not allowed to bid on that procurement. You can't design your own work. Or another common example would be one consultant on our project or contractor is in a position to oversee another. So for the procurement we're talking about, if the authority were at some point to have a contract manager or a construction manager type contract overseeing Trainsets, or some other consultant contract overseeing the Trainsets procurement and contract, the Trainsets contractor could not obviously bid on that. We have to keep those separate. Next slide. So we get a lot of requests for organizational conflicts of interest at the authority, and we've run the numbers. The vast majority of them, we permit contractors to participate in the project. It's a big project. There's a lot of work available, and we want to encourage competition. So we work as hard as we can within the policy and the law to find mitigation wherever possible. And we'll use those, safeguards and mitigation if we can to allow participation and increase that competition in any procurement. Next slide. So what do you need to do as a potential bidder under the policy? We recommend that you carefully review section 5.2 of the RFQ. It goes over this policy, and it looks a little different than it did on past procurements. There's been a few changes. Nothing major, but we ask that everyone review that carefully and also review the policy, which was updated just this year by our board. Both the link to the policy is in that section of the RFQ, which is on the Cal eProcure site. We do not require pre-clearance to participate on a team in this procurement. What we encourage folks to do is, if you read that policy, read that section in RFQ, and are concerned you could potentially have an organizational conflict, follow the directions. There's a list of things to submit to us in an email, and we'll go ahead and get back to you with any questions and have a look. Also, you will be required to submit Form F with your SOQ submissions, and that is a requirement for all subs and primes on a team. And basically, that is a form upon which you declare any potential conflicts. If you've already received a letter from the authority that says we have determined you don't have a conflict, you don't necessarily have to put all of that same information on your Form F, but you are free to attach that letter to your Form F just so we have all the information. Next slide. So if you need to request an organizational conflict determination, please send an email to our Chief Counsel, Alicia Fowler, at legal@hsr.ca.gov. And this information, again, is in section 5.2 of the RFQ. And we will investigate the situation and get back to you with any questions. It's pretty common that we will have a phone call or exchange emails to get more information from you. It's very important if you're trying to have an expedited organizational conflict of interest determination, I would highly recommend that you look at the checklist of information we ask that you submit with your request and submit all of that information. That makes everything go a lot faster. And typically it'll take about 2 to 4 weeks. We sometimes can do it faster, especially if you give us all that information up front. Next slide. So I believe that concludes our pre-bid conference today. There's resources here. If you have questions on the procurement itself, please send them to trainsets@hsr.ca.gov. The procurement page, which you can find by going to business opportunities at the top of our webpage. And then once you get there, clicking on high-speed train sets and related services under the contract opportunities section. That will be updated and we'll have a video of this pre-bid conference. The PowerPoint slides will be up there, and we'll also post the list of firms and small businesses that registered for this webinar. And I believe that's our last slide.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us, and we will talk to you soon.